welcome back to My Two Cents. So I've really figured out what type of schedule that I want to have between TikTok and YouTube and really solidify and get into a groove. So I'm going to be going live on TikTok on Tuesdays between 7 and 9 somewhere and going through kind of all of the posts that I had for that week. I'm going to go over updates and stuff from them, do a little bit of updates if I've heard anything new, and then I'm going to take a bunch of questions, any questions that I can't answer on the spot, and I will do another shorter live same time on Thursdays. But on Wednesdays, I wanted to do something special because I wanted the TikTok lives, they're not saved anywhere, or else this would be so much easier. So I want to be able to basically redo almost my live on a video here and put it on YouTube every Wednesday. That'll be basically everything that I talked about in a row on my Tuesday. So let's dive right in. So to start us off, I had a post really in the beginning about Royal Caribbean. So I want to solidify right here on camera that I am a long-term stockholder. I really shoot for that. I know that there was a couple videos that I saw and I showed and I talked about a little bit with people that I did have AMC purely out of coincidence when all that GameStop stuff happened a few weeks ago now. So I did get lucky enough that I was able to, I guess, profit off of everything that happened during all of that, but it wasn't intentional. And for me, I got lucky because it was still considered a long-term hold because I had the AMC from back in the fall when everything started closing down because of COVID. And I was like, I'm going to get some of this. I know that it's going to go back up. And that's why I had it there. And it was the same concept behind why I got Royal Caribbean. I bought Royal Caribbean. I bought it a couple different times that averaged out at basically me buying each of my stocks at $22. And with that, at that time, the 52-week high was $135. And I knew that Royal Caribbean wasn't going to go bankrupt. Cruise lines were already set to get a whole bunch of grants and bailouts and everything like that to make sure that that type of entertainment avenue stayed afloat during everything that was going on. And it's already been on the rise. Like since then, Royal Caribbean bought out a whole bunch of other cruise companies and really got back up on their feet. They've been doing a lot of deals and discounts and they're already back up to 68. So I've already got a pretty decent profit. But I know how high that it will go, not this summer, but by next summer. Hopefully this summer, it'll start climbing a little bit more. People will be able to get out there. But then I'm praying, and I really think it's a calculated good choice on my part, that by the summer of 2022, things should really start evening out and regulating from COVID, and people will be back on cruise ships, specifically Royal Caribbean. And like I said, they bought out a bunch of other cruise lines, so they're worth more money now anyway. So right now they are at $68.89. And when I talked about them on here, I think that they were at $65. Now, typically I like to coin myself as a budget-friendly, stock instructor. I love penny stocks, and I really like to keep myself in profitable, but low budget purchase price wise stocks. And so 68 is definitely on the higher end, but it's only because it's 68 now. And I want to keep talking about it because I'm still certain that even getting in at $68, that you will make profit if you're willing to be patient and hold. So that's huge. So another thing that I went around and I had a couple different things about it, and I talked about it on my first live video on TikTok, was the option of partial share stock options. People first getting into stocks, they want things that are safe, they want things that are popular, and a lot of people are like, ooh, but I can't really afford Apple or Tesla or Microsoft. Well, there's apps out there like Stash that allow you to buy in at like portions, like small portions, and your portion will increase the same way that the stock increases, and it'll allow you to get your foot into what is going to be considered a very safe stock if you can't necessarily afford to get a full share of or a couple full shares of these big name stocks. I just think that there's better ways to spend your money if you're willing to do the research. do the research. You can find ones that will be able to give you the same amount of profit, even more so, with the same amount of money that you're willing to invest in small pieces of these bigger stocks. So that's just my 2 cents. Then I dove in and I talked a lot this week about a lot of EV fleet companies, a lot of EV vehicle companies. Well, EV is electric vehicle. A lot of vehicle companies that are taking the time to make electric cars, trucks, trailers, all of that this year. And it's one of on my last video, I talked about the 4 categories of stocks to keep an eye on during the Biden administration, and the Green Initiative is part of that. It's going to be a lot of vehicles. So a couple of them I talked about Nissan. A lot of people have been counting it out recently, but in later years, it hasn't really been all that high. It hasn't been part of the hype, but they're pushing out electric cars, and they actually came out with an electric travel trailer for traveling around the United States. That's awesome. When I shared it with you all, it was at $10.35, and it is now $12.26. So it is on the rise. It is moving in the direction that I said that it was going to. Another one that I did was CCIV, so Churchill Capital. We already knew that this was going to be huge because of the merger rumor between them and Lucid Motors. Now, as I continue to watch all of this, I really don't think that it's so much of a rumor anymore as it is kind of just like filling in and like dotting the I's and slashing your T's to the end of this merger. And even the rumors is making Churchill Capital soar. But Lucid Motors, if it goes through and gets everything that it wants, it's going to be right up there with a comparison to Tesla. It's going to be luxury electric vehicles, and it's going to be huge. When I shared it with you all, it was $22.88 a share, and now it is $33.31 a share. That's huge. It's already on the rise. I really, really suggest getting in on this one. I think it's going to be a really good competitor for Tesla. Workhorse, it's been all over the news. I'm sure lots of people who are divvying into different stock avenues, you've read about it. I like Workhorse, and I first talked about Workhorse because not only are they stepping into the EV car arena and the EV charging stations, but they're also doing drone delivery systems, which is it's going to be huge, and it is huge in major cities and stuff right now. And that one's it's going to be really big. So I'm sure when I first saw it for myself, before I got into deciding to share a little bit of my 2 cents on TikTok and YouTube, I saw it was $21.46. When I shared it with everyone on my channel and on my TikTok, it was $34.32, and now it is $40.19. So from when I first looked at it back when I think it was right before Biden took office, that's when it was at $21. It's really starting to soar, and a lot of these are. Ford has been counted out numerous times in the past couple of years as being like a bland American-owned car, and they're coming out with and developing a EV Ford F-150 that should be on the markets next year. That's huge. Ford, being such a tried and true company in the United States, is a really big contender to get that bid for the Biden administration's, their entire fleet of vehicles. They're a really good contender for that. I read that on MarketWatch, CNBC. A lot of them they're throwing Ford's, name in the hat. They're putting their name in there. They want to be an option, and they're becoming a contender to do that. So when I shared that one, it was $10.53, and it is now $11.93. So that's huge. That's a big jump too, because I didn't share it that long ago. I think it was like maybe a week and a half ago. Then we have GM, which I only posted just recently, but I didn't even think about them until I saw that Super Bowl commercial. So that was huge because it jogged my memory and made me think like, oh my gosh, there's other car companies out there that I didn't really consider yet. And GM is set to release 30 new vehicles by 2025, all EV. And it had a really good commercial with Will Ferrell and a lot of other stars in it if you saw it during the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's going to be, they're putting themselves on the map as well. They're going to be contenders. Electric vehicles is it's the way of the future right now. They're really trying to cut down on the emissions, and Biden's going to give them the means and funds to be able to do that. So, no.
Can I have some water?
Sorry for my little hiccup. My stock business is really only a small portion of what I do with my life. So I'm just doing my best to get everything out there and keep myself on a nice steady schedule. So I wanted to, like I said, finish off GM. Awesome. Now, a huge thing that I talked about this week, and I wish I would have talked about it a little bit more, is just with all of these companies soaring. And I like to use Tesla as my biggest example because it's got the biggest umbrella to all of these smaller corporations that I like to talk about. But when you're researching your own stock and you want to find something on your own and really feel good about yourself about finding something that you can share with somebody else first, or just for yourself, being able hey, I found this stock by myself and it's making me money. You need to think about the smaller companies that help these larger companies be who they are. And my biggest thing was Tesla. And I went and I did the research. I'm like, who are their manufacturers for their tires? Who are the manufacturers for their seat belts? They're all different companies, and most of them are publicly traded, which means you can find them and you can profit off them at a smaller price point for yourself. Keep it in that low budget area, but their prices are going to soar just the same as Tesla's because the supply and demand is there. All of that's going to happen. And my biggest one with this is I followed up on their brakes, which was Brembo. It's stock sign, it's BRBOF. And when I first saw them, they were at $9.13, and now they're at $13.45. And sure, that doesn't sound like the biggest leap in the world. It's not getting up to $800 like Tesla, but these smaller companies are going to make it so that people with not a huge investing budget can still make profits on their money. And these are long holds. Like I'm saying, Tesla's going to continue to go up, so Brembo's going to continue to go up with it. It's going to be huge. Let's move on to healthcare. So I had in healthcare, I talked about Jaguar, which is recently partnering with the SPAC to combat the long-term side effects from COVID. So they've really been set to soar, while these vaccines and everything are coming out. They're helping with the things that the vaccine's not helping with. The vaccine's stopping you from potentially getting it in the future. But there are some people who have had it already who have been... They've had some really inconvenient long-term symptoms, and this company is now combating against that. So it really is going up. Actually, you know what? I'll do the posted. I posted about it first at $2.85, and it is now at $3.06. That one is great. CVS hasn't really moved. They're pretty stable right now, but CVS is, they're the main hub for COVID tests, and there are a lot of vaccine stops for the vaccine. So it's a no-brainer on that one if you've got the capital for it. This is one that's I wanted to put it out there because it's definitely a contender in this category, but it's out of my comfortability price range. Just looking back there makes me laugh. Somebody in the video last night was like, "Oh, those curtains, they're absolutely horrendous." I'm house sitting. But I just saw them and it cracked me up. I'm house sitting, not my house, but it's okay. So I don't care about the curtains. But the next thing, there's two other things I want to talk about, and then I want to touch on some really awesome penny stocks that I have and kind of give updates on those, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So I did discuss capital gains tax. Now, I am a long-term stockholder, so I'm getting charged at the long-term capital gains tax, not the short-term. And the short-term basically taxes you immediately at your own income based on your normal income tax bracket. Whereas long-term, it could be, depending on your tax bracket, could be 0, 15, or 6 or 20%. It's just, you get taxed less when you're holding that stock longer, and the cutoff is a year. So it's just something to keep in mind. Some people don't care about it, and that's why they day trade and they're comfortable with it, and it's fine. I don't necessarily care too much about it. It's just the fact that it fits conveniently in with my trading style. Gesundheit. So it's just, that's the way that I roll with it. Definitely do more of the research, because I would rather I wanted to pop something up on the screen and stuff for this, and I might be able to do it. So just bear with me. Hopefully I can get it in the video. Hopefully I can get a little pop up and it'll show you a little bit clear cut answer as to what the tax brackets and stuff are, but that's important. But what's also important is if you have losses, you can claim up to $3,000 in capital, in basically losses in the stock market. And I don't think that you can claim crypto yet, but you can claim your stock losses, and it could potentially knock down it. Basically, if you make $50K a year and you claim $3,000 in losses, you'll get taxed, and the bracket you'll get taxed on 47K. It just takes out what you've got. So that can help offset gains. So make sure you keep all that stuff in mind when you're doing your taxes, and because it's definitely one that you want to think about. So one of the last things I have here is dividend stocks. So I highly recommend getting involved in some of these if you just for long-term holds, things that you're not going to get rid of. Amazon, Apple, Visa, Johnson & Johnson, all of these are major dividend companies that I wouldn't recommend anyone really selling them. They're just companies that are going to continue to soar over time. Like, they're ones that I would just hold. And they have dividends on them, which means that as a shareholder, you get a percentage of their profits every year. And there's certain companies, like Johnson & Johnson is known as a king dividend, because its dividend percentage to its shareholders increases, and it will continue to increase for probably the next 50 years. So it's a really big deal. I think that that'll be, it's really good. Sorry, I just got like a message. I would definitely look into them. Visa is not necessarily a king dividend. It's more of it's been increasing over the last 12 years, which means that it's set to pretty much, it's set to can basically go up shortly as it is. Visa is at 0.61%, but that Johnson & Johnson stock is, I believe, at 2.49%. I could have those ones backwards. I definitely should have written those ones down. I apologize. But I will have them back for next week. I'll be able to bring it back, and I hope like I said, I'm house sitting, so I'm kind of doing my best to just use notes and stuff here. I don't have my normal setup, but it's okay. We're making do with what we got. So the last one I want to touch on was some really awesome penny stocks that I have. And then even though I didn't necessarily need to do it, I did a couple of research on some people that, a really good, I don't want to call them followers, but somebody who attended my live video last night gave me some really awesome ones to look into, and I did, and they're great. So I wanted to talk about OZOP. When I put that one out, that they're set to partner with Tesla in the development of more EV batteries because they can't keep up with their supply and demand. It's a lot more than rumor. You can look at it. I think I found it on Market Watch, and not CNBC. It starts with a B. I mean, I did see it on my E-Trade. When you go to the bottom, it tells you new news, but a lot of times those are from Market Watch, so I don't like to use those as too different, even if they're the research itself was a little different, but it's the same thing. It's not it's not set in stone, but it's not a rumor. Like, they've already been set to be in agreement with one another, and it is happening. When I shared it, it was at 17 cents. When I talked about it yesterday on my TikTok, it was at 35 cents. And then before business closed and stuff today, I believe it got up to 39 cents. Now, it is an OTC stock, which means that some of your trading platforms might not be able to get them or trade them. I use E-Trade, so if any of these, tickle your fancy, I would look into becoming an E-Trade user. I did SIRC, which broke into the EV charging arena. that one, when I brought it up to everyone's attention, it was $1.49, and it is now up to $2.04. So that one is really good too. It is definitely on the rise. And then we have to get to shrimp. And that doesn't have anything to do with any of it. I got turned on to it by my dad, and it is basically an organic natural shrimp company that has been popping up new facilities all over the country. They just recently opened one up in Iowa. And basically they're on their way to being put on NASDAQ. The only requirement they have left is to reach $1 of a share price. When my dad first told me about it, he got in at 7 cents. When he first told me about it, it was 25 cents. By the time I finally got to it, it was 38 cents. When I shared it with you, it was 58 cents, and yesterday's stock price was 81 cents. It is easily going to get there by probably halfway through the year. It'll be on NASDAQ. It's going to be huge, and it's a really awesome organic shrimp company. Instead of getting those little shrimps that you get at the mall to put in your cocktail, basically the shrimps they look like little, like little lobsters, basically. I've seen them because I did the research on this company, and it was actually really crazy. But go back to follow my TikTok and you'll be able to see it. Go to the shrimp one. I will post more of these charts and everything when I have more of access to do so with everything on here. So I'll do my best to flash new charts at the end of this video for everything that I talked about. I would really like to do that. So hopefully I can. But I will take any questions. Please comment to me on here. If you are new to the stock market, I do small. I'm not a big time, I don't get paid to do this for a living. I'm not a day trader. I'm not anything. What I am is a self-taught mom with a full-time job that has nothing to do with this. And yet I devote probably an extra 2 hours a day to informing others and conducting further research on myself. So I have been recently approached by a few people to basically give calls on initial and starting opportunities for people really initially getting into the stock market and getting into trading, just off of beginner's advice and everything like that. And I am willing to do that. If anyone wants to reach out to me about it, please comment below or shoot me a message on either here or TikTok. Please do, by all means. So I'm going to get ahead and flash some of those at you. And then I will save these penny stocks for another time. So thank you so much for joining me. That is my 2 cents, and I will see you next Wednesday. I'm going to take a second to look over at least some of them that we had talked about. So let's go over this one. You can see the climb. Like I said, it dropped a few cents from, I think, the number that I had, but you can still see the steady incline. Look down at the bottom. It shows you the news. It'll tell you where it's from and how old it was. So just be able to do your own research on things. Don't just trust the charts, and don't just listen to me or some other YouTuber because they're telling you about stocks that have looked and are profitable. Be able to do your own research. Let's see what else we've got. Let's check in on OZOP. This one again decreased slightly. It got a new director of operations. That's not overwhelming. It could be significant though. So always research it. See, if it's a big name, somebody who's got friends. Be able to do your research in that arena because it really can make a difference. And then let's look at one more. Crazy. So shrimp did actually go up. It is not at 81 cents anymore. It is at 84. And I feel wholly confident that this stock will be on NASDAQ probably by June or July. It's so close. It's right there. I would really recommend, guys, just give it a hard look. Look down at the news and stuff that it has. It's actually it's had a lot of news in the last couple of weeks for such a tiny stock company. So I urge you to do your research. This is my 2 cents. You don't have to listen to it, but thank you for joining me.